Assalamu alaikum, hello and welcome to my show Connecting with Saima Parwaz. I hope all of you are doing great and waiting to see my today's guest. In today's show, we will discuss, as usual, real estate market and what is happening in the market with my and all of yours favorite Ayoun. How are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So how's everything?
Everything is good, going so far. I'm very excited to have this chat. This is a new topic that we're going to discuss today.
Yes. So guys, we are going to discuss today trust account. Why this is important and the advantages and disadvantages of having a trust account. So we can start with today's what's happening out there in the real estate.
Well, real estate there's improvement, there's activity, not to the level that one would expect, but I think it's doing well so far. I do expect this to linger on until sometime next year, but at least the prices are holding now. They have significantly dropped if you look at the past 2-3 years, but it's kind of holding on to itself now, and I see building up of confidence. People that are wanting to buy. There's a lot of selling, which I don't know if it's a good thing, but at least there's activity in the market. People are selling to move into different places.
Maybe it's not that much people are looking for, but it is at least there is activity.
Yeah, and the good thing is that a lot of people, even the people that are selling, I've spoken to a few people, they're reinvesting in the economy. So people are trying to, some people are trying to leave the real estate portfolio, go into maybe restaurants and different businesses.
Very
like
businesses
that.
people are in.
Yeah, so people are getting into, after COVID, a lot of people got that sense of self-employment. So people are getting into buying businesses and restaurants and things like that. So yeah, it's steady. I think it can do better. Political stability, our trade agreements, all of that stuff. If it comes in line, if there's some confidence building measures for the country, I'm sure people will respond.
Okay, that's great. All right, and so in a year or 2 years, you can see the change?
I think by the end of this year, a lot of things will be defined. I think there will be some sort, not a roadmap, not in accordance with people, like you'll get an idea of where we're headed. In my personal opinion, because we've reached a point where Canada's seen a lot of turbulent times in the last few months, it's true. A lot of people don't like to say it, but our economy's gone through a lot of turmoils, and I think now, considering that the government's reconsidering making bigger projects, investments, and we're seeing alliances around the world changing. You have China as a factor, India, Russia, all these countries. I think a lot of changes we will see by the end of the year.
So people should start buying? I
think people should not start buying, but whatever they want to invest in, whether it's real estate, whether it's business, whether it's commercial property, asset purchase, I think this is the time to put that seed in, so you can see it kind of, grow and because I personally think Canada, the only way is up. That's my personal opinion, because we're still the G7 countries. A lot of measures are currently being taken to tackle immigration. We've seen a decline in immigration. Technically, the financial boom that Canada got in the last 5 years through real estate, through all these, and the inflation was the excessive population that we added 1 million people in 1 year. That's a lot of people with no significant spending on infrastructure. So I think that has negatively affected the quality of life. But I think now that they're holding it off and now they're taking some measures, I think good times are to come.
But Ayoun, I think Canada need more people, no?
We do need more people, but we need people that are skilled. We need people that have, because the problem is that we should have students as well. I'm not against students, I'm not against workers, but proportionately. If you're allowing 1 million students, that's a lot of students, because it's also a reality that after a while these students want to stay in Canada. Study permits are meant to actually for these kids to come study and then go back to their home country. I think a very high percentage of people ended up staying in Canada. So that's a burden on the system. And then Canada has, their immigration policies in the past have been very lenient. This is why there were so many calls for restricting immigration not restricting immigration to choke it, but to restructure it, allow people. I mean, I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, there were a lot of Pakistani families coming to Canada.
But they were families, right?
Families, you know, with a background, with some sort of merit, education, academic background, because then you know that these are people that are going to be, you know, understand the lifestyle and the way to live in this country, you know. But a lot of times we don't see that. We see, unfortunately, people that don't deserve to be in this country. That's why you have crime. That's why you have petty theft, you know, stuff like that. So, but I think good days are to come.
Inshallah.
You know, inshallah, we're, as a community, we learn, we live and learn, and you know, these elections they did matter a lot, and I think hopefully,
Our new elections.
fingers crossed, the new prime minister can do something for the country.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.
All right. So we're going to come to our today's topic,
Sure.
right? So family trust.
Yeah.
So what is family trust?
So a family trust is, I'll give you some perspective. A lot of people know what a will is, right? So the difference between a will and a family trust is that a will is a document that you sign off by providing instructions on how the estate will be distributed at the time of the person's death. So, for example, if I make a will, that will during my lifetime is just a testamentary document, but it's not, you can't do anything about it. It really comes to life, it activates once I pass, God forbid. So then the estate trustee has to take it, go to a court, file that will, and then the court looks at the will and the estate is distributed. On the other hand, a trust, family trust, is an existing trust deed. It's like an agreement between trustees and beneficiaries during their lifetime of how, you know, the estate will be distributed upon someone's death. The difference is that in a trust, you're putting everything in trust. So let's just say I have 2 properties, for example. I'm putting those in trust by way of an agreement that it's to be held for some beneficiary. So it's to be held for my daughter or my wife or whoever I want to. So that's a trust agreement. So the benefit of that is that if I pass away, then the estate is a private document. The trustee is a private, so you don't have to go to courts, you don't have to probate it, you don't have to pay tax. Those are some of the benefits of a trust agreement. So that's in a nutshell the answer to your question. The difference between a trust and a will. Will comes to life when a person passes. Trust is basically you giving your exercise of control away into a trust.
When you are even alive.
Even when you're alive. So you're only a trustee. A trustee is not an owner of that. A trustee is just a trustee looking after that asset for a beneficiary. That's the whole purpose of a trustee. So yeah, I mean, if you want to, I believe you're going to probably ask me the benefits and disadvantages. I think the benefits include tax avoidance. A lot of people want to keep the assets in a trust because then you have, you have to pay less taxes. I think one of the benefits is that you don't have to go through a court process. You know, you don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to, go through lawyer fees. All of that stuff, that's not required. It's more of a private document. But then there are certain disadvantages to it. I mean, the benefits are that you can customize this trust deed and make it in accordance with your liking. You can customize, this person gets this person gets that. The more complicated it becomes, the more costlier it is. But, general trust agreements, as basic ones, are generally good enough for smaller estates. But at my firm, we also accommodate bigger estate matters, where the trust agreements are much, much more complicated. We can handle those as well. So essentially, when clients walk in, we talk to them, ascertain what their intentions are, we try to understand their objectives, and we get into drafting these agreements, and it's a very tedious and sophisticated process. So yeah, the disadvantages, the ones I can think of are
less power, probably.
Yeah, so there's less control over that property because now you're acting as a trustee. CRA tends to scrutinize those kind of transactions where anytime a structure is made for tax avoidance per se, even though that may not be illegal, tax avoidance is not always illegal, but CRA tends to look at it more and go through a process, make you go through a process. So those are some disadvantages to trusts. But I mean, I would suggest anybody who's interested in trusts or wills, you can call our number. If you have any questions, we can give you an initial information session for a few minutes. Try to understand what the objectives are. Sometimes the questions are more sophisticated, so it may require legal advice, but we can channel that through. We can work with the clients, and we can certainly make them feel at home and explain everything to them in detail.
So for the will, someone can make their own will? Like, do they need a lawyer, or they can?
So that's a very good question. So if you're asking the technical legality, anybody can make a will. I think we discussed this before. There's something called a holographic will. So even a person can write it with their hands.
Like in
like a handwritten.
any paper.
A handwritten paper could be considered if it's done properly. A will has its own restrictions, right? So if you're making a will, there has to be 2 witnesses. There has to be dates. Those kind of things. As long as they're observed, those steps, then a handwritten will can also be considered legitimate. However, you cannot write a thorough, because people don't understand. It's not just about, hey, when I die, please give this to someone. It's not just that. There's a whole process behind it. There's lawyers involved. You have to go to probate, then you have to get an accountant. Estate taxes are filed. A lot of things happen. And there's a gap where you're in court and the estate trustee needs to access the property. Like, for example, what if the roof leaks? What if there's a major disaster in the house? You need someone to exercise their control as a trustee to at least maintain, and because that person is obligated to not maintain the estate, because he has to pass it on the beneficiary. So all these things have to be defined in a will. So when you're writing with your hand, I'm not even 99% sure. I think I'm 100% sure that a handwritten will, if a relationship breaks down and a will is being challenged in court, it's going to be useless. Because they're like, well, it doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't tell us, because a detailed will by a lawyer will actually cover all scenarios for you. So that way, wherever life takes you, you kind of know, okay, I'm covered in this will. But a simple will may define just the portion to a beneficiary, nothing else. So that doesn't prevent complications, and sometimes these holographic wills may not be accepted by court. They may say that, oh, there's a witness missing, or there's a person who's not recoverable. Like if they want to reach out to the witnesses and they're not available, that the court will say that that will is nullified. It's no, right? So all these things have to be considered before. So I advise our viewers to give us a call. Any questions they have regarding wills, we'll try to understand their scenario, their circumstances, and we'll answer accordingly.
So you guys can also help for if it's Islamic will or...
So yes, we do help with Islamic will. So I think a lot of people need to understand that Canadian system does not recognize Sharia, but it does recognize personal instructions. So if a person comes to me and tells me that I want to give 2 parts to my son and 1 part to my daughter in accordance with Sharia, we can incorporate those clauses into the will. We won't call it Sharia, but we will make it Sharia compliant. So my suggestion would be to call us. You can get in contact with, the best way to start that off would be to get in contact with a scholar, like a Muslim scholar or a mufti or someone that is very well versed in Sharia, because a lot of people have very complicated questions. I prefer, because I know basic Sharia, but I'm not an imam, or I'm not fully versed, because it's pretty complicated. Not complicated, but it's pretty sophisticated, the Islamic law. So you want to make sure that you're following, the actual sanctity of those rules. And yeah, then they would call me and then say, hey, we've spoken to our mufti, this is how we want it, and then I would incorporate those terms into the will and make it Sharia compliant. So that way now you've fulfilled your obligation to be Sharia compliant, and at the same time this will is now, you can process it in Ontario courts. Yeah.
Thank you, Ayoun.
No problem.
So guys, we are having a very good conversation about the will, and a trust account. And if you guys have any questions about these, you can call to Ayoun and Sabia's firm, and they will definitely help you out. All right, Ayoun, there are how many kinds of family trusts?
So there's a few, but we'll stick to the most common one, and then we can dive into more detail. So there's fixed trusts, there's discretionary trusts. They're all designed for different levels of power that you want to assign to.
How complex someone's trust?
Yeah, like I mean, if somebody, the most common one is discretionary one because it's a little more open. It's not very fixated to circumstances and how the trust is built.
You mean we can make changes in that?
No, you cannot make changes, but discretionary means that it allows more power to trustees.
Okay.
An extra level of, because let's just say if you're doing like a long-term trust, you can't technically do long-term, but let's just say if you expect the trust to last 15 years. 15 years is a lot of time for time to pass. So you may want to give the trustee an extra level of authority because things change. For example, if you want to make changes to a house, renovate or sell or buy to maintain, if you know a market, a blackout's coming and there's a crash, you want to give the trustee the power to sell that property so the asset can be maintained for the beneficiary. If you're doing a fixed trust where the trustee is just holding to give it, there's no authority given to parties and other different rules under fixed trust, then your hands are tied. So sometimes that's not a very good one. That's maybe good for short term if you want some short term benefits. So yeah, those are the different types of trusts that people can do and it basically creates variation in powers and terms of the agreement.
Hi guys, we're talking about the trust account and the will. We are going for a short break and I'll be back. Hi guys, we are talking to Ayoun about trust account. Ayoun, how was your break?
It's good. We had a lovely chat over the break
Yeah.
about the challenges that we face. Absolutely.
So who is the most powerful person in the trust?
So there's no fixed answer to that. I think the most powerful person would be the beneficiary.
Or it depends on which kind of trust is it?
It depends on how the trust is structured, depends on how much power is given to the trustee. Essentially, in standard practice, a beneficiary would be the strongest person because they're the real owners, beneficial owners, and entitled to that estate. But that could vary because you could give a lot of power to the estate trustee depending on the length of the trust. How much circumstances can change depending on if you're planning for a 15-year trust or a 10-year trust. A lot of circumstances can change. So I think in that sense, in the sense of control, a trustee would be a very influential person in that transaction. But yeah, generally speaking, this will all depend on the terms of the trust agreement.
So two questions in one question. Who should make the trust and who can make the trust?
So generally speaking, the idea is that the trust agreement should be between parties that are, familiar with each other's habits, personalities. The reason why I say that is it's an understanding. So it could be like between, let's just say parents and kids, or a husband to a wife, or a wife to children, or any which way you want to do, grandparents. You can do other people, you can even do charities if you want. But the idea is that you make it with a person that it's not random. That's why, they always say that a trust has two meanings. The literal meaning of a trust is that you trust someone. That's why it's a trust agreement. But in a legal sense, that you're holding it in trust for someone. You're saying that I'm holding this in trust for someone. So because the beneficiary is allowing so much right for the trustee to exercise, and there's so much responsibility on the shoulders of a trustee to give that to the beneficiary, that it's very, very important that these agreements are structured properly. They're reviewed by a lawyer, they are CRA compliant, that there's income tax avoidance. You can talk about the challenges that we face when we draft these agreements. A lot of people have different circumstances. Sometimes a person would come and say, hey, you know what, I'm trying to do this to avoid tax. Somebody's trying to do it because they want to hide in the system. That's also one of the things that people do. So yeah, these are all things that have to be considered. Again, like I've said previously in the show as well, I would love to talk to whoever is interested in this process. They can call us at the number on the screen, and we can certainly discuss everything in detail.
Sure, thanks.
No problem.
And what is the age?
So in Ontario, the age is 21 years. That's the age of disposition.
In this time, that trust needs to be discussed
it has
again.
to be re-evaluated. So the idea is that a trust can last up to 21 years. After the 21 years, you may want to make a new one. It may have the same terms, but given the rule of disposition, 21 years is a lot of time. So there is a good chance that a lot of the structure in the trust agreement may have changed. Somebody could have died. A property could have been destroyed by nature, like anything. You can think of anything. So 21 years is a time where it's a good idea to reevaluate.
So who can make it? Like, what is the age for who's
18
making
years.
it?
18 years, yeah.
Even old person, like 60, 70?
Yeah. Anybody with sound mind and who understands and appreciates what the instructions that they're giving, they can make a trust.
Yeah. So probably this is more like accountant question, but are family trust taxed in Canada?
Taxed?
Taxed, yeah.
So this all depends, like you had said already, this is a accountant-related question, but that's the whole purpose behind drafting these agreements. I don't want to say tax avoidance, but to structure your assets in a way that you minimize your tax, right? So we were discussing over the break previously from our show that a lot of times there's an overlap with accountants. So when a client comes to me and says, I have these many assets, I can give them the legal advice. But when it comes to his accounting, his income, his finances, we have to get an accountant on board, depending on how complicated the trust is. We have to get a forensic accountant on board because the accountant then tells us that the best way to do it would be putting these conditions in. So it kind of like, it's like a hand and a glove situation where we need that help. But generally speaking, it's not required unless there's much complicated matters. We understand how to make them CRA compliant. We understand that we have to make sure that it deals with all the inter-family dynamics, right? We ask, as lawyers, we ask clients invasive questions about how family matters are.
So the people who have a mortgage on their assets, so they can also put them in a trust?
So a mortgage is separate. It's a charge that a bank holds against the property. So when you're making a trust, you're generally making a trust for the equity in the property. So if it's $1 million and you have a $600,000 mortgage, the mortgage is the lender's portion in the house. You can't touch unless you've paid it off. Whatever your payout is over the years, it'll be that amount. But the remainder is what you hold it in trust. So the portion that you bought it for, and then the equity that's built up over time, that is what is held in trust.
Got it. All right. So we have a good chat.
Yes.
Yeah. So what else you guys do in your firm? Like, I heard you guys are doing now even immigration.
Yes. So our main focus is real estate. Our main focus is family law. We do much of the estate planning, like we've discussed. We also practice in areas of immigration, corporate law, commercial law. We've seen a big trend for people purchasing assets. People are getting into the restaurant business. Like we discussed earlier, people are changing their portfolios from real estate into restaurants. So that's also something that we see a lot in the market. So we do a wide array of different practices.
Any success story recently?
Success story. There's no one success story. I think every day is a different day. It feels really good when we go to court for family matters, because that's because you asked a very specific question. That success feeling. you don't get that in settlements and mediation. It's a different area of practice. But success feeling comes when you have prepared a case, you go into court, you attend trials and different
Maybe for
case
everyone it's
conferences.
different.
Yeah, sometimes when you have a clear file and you have the documents filed correctly, all of the exhibits, the documentation, the evidence is strong, you get a good day in court. You get positive feedback from the judge and a lot of negative feedback to the other party. That feels good because it's a win for my client. So yeah, those are success stories. We go through them all the time. It's like sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes clients can be difficult. Our own clients can be difficult, but we try to work with them. And ultimately, they are clients. We have to protect their interests. So we work with them.
Thank you so much, Ayoun. Yeah, it's always nice talking to you on my show.
Absolute pleasure, and I would love to have even more chats in the future,
Inshallah,
discussing, inshallah, more topics, different topics, then we can educate our viewers.
Yes, of course. All right, guys. So if you guys need any legal help, Ayoun and Sabia's firm can help you guys. You guys can just one phone away. You guys can reach to them anytime. Google their name, Google their number, and they're there. So your timings are like?
So we open at 9:30 in the morning. We operate until 5. However, we do understand some people work a little late. So on special requests or exceptions, we can take clients a little further than 5, depending on an exception for a person. But normally our offices are not open at that time. So it's 9:30 to 5.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Guys, so this is some talk about the legal. If you need any legal help, and if you guys need help in buying and selling to your properties, your home, or any sort of help in any real estate, you guys can reach to me. As you guys, most of you know, I'm a real estate agent and helping the communities for many years. And my name and number, you guys can Google it, or you can find from my show, from the screen. And now I'm going to finish the show with what we have discussed today. A parent might create a family trust to manage and protect assets for their children. And they can also save some taxes. You guys can discuss all these with your lawyer or with your accountant. And I'll see you in the next episode with a new topic with Ayoun and Sabia or some other lawyers. Yes, Ayoun, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it's always my pleasure, you guys, to be on whenever you come to my show.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.